Good evening and welcome back to Church Unplugged with Shield of Faith. We are so excited and so blessed that you are joining us this evening for our discussion. And some of you may recognize my voice. That is because my name is Jade Rogarello and I am typically your unseen host for these episodes. But tonight I have the incredible privilege of getting to have a conversation with Pastor Frank. And I'm super excited. With that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our incredible lead pastor, Mr. Frank McElhaney, who is amazing and joins us on all of these discussions. We're so incredibly thankful that he is here, and I'm so honored to get to discuss with him. Before we jump in tonight, make sure that you comment down below, ask any questions that you have. We love hearing from you guys, and we will certainly do our best to address any comments that we may get. With that said, are you ready to get started, Pastor?
Sure.
Awesome. So some of you who have seen some of our past episodes, we have touched quite a bit on relationships. And we've touched on marriage. We had our incredible pastors, Scott and Tanya Cummings, join us a couple months back to talk about their incredible marriage. We've talked about friendships, personalities in relationships. We've kind of gone across the board. But one thing that we have not touched on yet, and what we are going to do tonight, is the aspect of not being in a relationship. And the concept of being single, which I feel like is something that can sometimes cause people to not really want to talk about it. They can kind of shy away from it. But this is Church Unplugged, so we're going to go ahead, excuse me, and talk about it. So before we get started, is there anything you want to say, Pastor?
No, just I think we tried to find when we were talking about it, tried to find what we could call the episode, and really didn't come up with a good way to talk about it, but a good name for it. But it's something that we both felt like would be good to talk about is being single in a world where everybody's rushing to be in a relationship. So
Yeah.
of course I'm going to let you talk about that because I'm not single, so
Well, spoiler alert, I am. And just to give a little bit of background, I was in a long-term relationship for most of the years that I was in high school. And I have not been in a relationship since I was about 17-ish years old. And I've honestly learned a lot about life in the past couple of years. I just turned 20 years old, and I've done a lot of reflecting. That birthday kind of hit me hard for some reason. I don't know, maybe just because I wasn't a teenager anymore, but no, I've done a lot of reflecting on my life. And we've even had this conversation before that a lot of people in my life, a lot of my friends, and actually all of my friends and all of my family members are either married, engaged, or in a committed relationship, which is amazing, and I'm so incredibly happy for them. But there have been times where I personally have kind of wondered, should I be in a relationship? Should I be trying to find somebody? Should I be, do I need to get married? Do I need to start looking, and things like that? And I think part of that may come from, the fact that my parents, when they were my age, they were about to be married. They had been engaged for a while. They had been dating for, I think, 5 years already, and were about to get married. And so there's just different factors, I think, that kind of play into some things like that. And I know I'm not alone in that. And so that's one of the things that I just wanted to touch on tonight and elaborate on.
But you have to be, you have to realize it's okay to not be in a relationship. And a lot of people will do that just because everybody else is. They don't want to feel left out. But one of the things that I think is important for people before they get in a relationship is to come to a place to where they're okay with who they are by themselves.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
You said you'd learned a lot about life, and I think that some people kind of rush into a relationship because some people move out, go to college, other people see their families, mom and dad and different ones, and so there's there seems to be a little bit of a stigma of being alone, and I think
Yes.
that's.
Absolutely. Continue. Sorry.
No, that's all I was. I was
No,
just headed to.
I love that you said that because I think that's so true. I think it's a scary thing for people to be alone, and no one. I personally don't think anyone should be alone. We need people,
Yeah.
and if anything, this past year with the pandemic has absolutely proven that. And ultimately, and this isn't for everybody, but in my life, it is my ultimate goal to be in a loving relationship and have a happy marriage. And, that's my prayer for my future. But I think sometimes, especially in today's society and in today's world, we, like you said, can get so caught up in rushing things and trying to keep up with everyone around us. And, I was just having this conversation earlier today. I personally, there are so many things within myself that I'm still kind of figuring out and working on and attempting my best to heal from. And I am not personally in the capacity to bring another person into that quite yet. And, that's a lot of things that I'm working on with the Lord and working on and bringing to Him and letting Him to work on within me. And so I think that's such an important point that you bring up.
Yeah, and a lot of times too, life is not. I mean, I'll just be honest with you. Life isn't fair, and marriage usually doesn't work like Snow White, but
The fairy tales.
The fairy tales. But it's and so there's a lot of energy that has to go into a relationship, and it can't be one-sided energy. It's got to come from both. So whenever I've seen people take on relationships for the wrong reasons. One, because they felt like they needed to have somebody. Two, because they felt like they could help somebody, or they felt like somebody needed them.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you that those are the relationships you probably need to avoid, because you said you'd been working on yourself, and I think that's a good thing, to work on yourself. But that tendency to rush everything, I think, is I know myself. I used to be that way, but I'm not that way anymore. And it's not because I'm old, but it's just because I've gotten better sense. But a lot of times when you rush things, you make mistakes that you can't fix.
Yes.
And you know yourself that relationships, anytime a relationship has a problem, it hurts. And sometimes those hurts last a long time. But you can't not have a relationship because you're afraid to get hurt. So
that's true.
Just having the right attitude. But I like that you said that you plan on in the future.
Absolutely. And I do want to intercede and just say, this isn't to discredit anyone who's in a loving relationship. I mean, that is at 100% my goal and my hope for my future and my prayer, as I said. I think finding that one person to spend your life with is one of the most beautiful things that the Lord can give you and provide for you. I think sometimes, though, when you are not in a relationship, people can kind of wallow in the waiting and feel so terrible sometimes,
right.
and even question, is there something wrong with me? Is there something
yes.
that people don't like about me?
I've actually had people ask me that question. Is something wrong with me because I don't have a husband or a wife? But a part of it is that you have to be willing to not only enter into a relationship, but to commit to a relationship. Now,
yes.
You're talking, I think, more about a long-term relationship, because I know a lot of people. I know just I think people now think if you go out on a date, that means you're going steady. But when I was growing up, if you went out on a date, you had fun. That didn't mean you were committed to anything until about the third or fourth date.
you had
It
an
was a
idea.
little bit different. But
Right.
but always, you need to realize. People need to realize it's okay to be single, and you don't have to explain why you're single or any of that kind of stuff.
Right.
So that feeling that you need to explain, maybe I had a bad relationship but you don't need to do that. It's okay. It's okay to be single, and if you can learn to do life by yourself, then you will add to a relationship.
Absolutely.
Rather than be
Absolutely.
a liability in a relationship.
Absolutely. And I think, that kind of goes into what we were talking about a little bit before too, is I've personally taken this period over the past 3 years, as I said, to kind of work on some things that I'm still working on. Life is it's a marathon, not a sprint.
That's right.
And sometimes some things take a little bit longer. But also I've, especially recently, just really been trying to grow closer to the Lord. And,
Good.
And I think, that's one of the best things you can do, not just, when you're not in a relationship, but in life. Because if you're not fulfilled with the Lord, you won't be fulfilled with anything else.
That's right.
And so that is something that I've personally taken that journey on. Good evening, everyone. I see we got some people commenting. We're so glad you're joining us. And yeah, so I just think, I think I'm excited that we're talking about this tonight, because I feel like this is something that a lot of people go through that isn't mentioned a lot of the time.
Right.
And so, I wanted to kind of circle back into what we were talking about in the beginning, and that is that there is no time limit, or there's no timeline, I guess I should say, that everybody has to follow. I feel like there's, as you were saying, a stigma, or maybe just kind of an expectation of, by the time between 20 and 25, I got to get married, then you got to have a few children, and then, you know what I mean? And sometimes people can feel, oh my gosh, I'm behind. Like that's never going to happen to me, and myself included. I've definitely felt that.
Well, before, I'd say a long time ago, when I was a child, women were mothers, and there's nothing wrong with that. But nowadays, women are having great careers and stuff, so you don't have just thinking about having a relationship and having children. You've got to think about what you're going to do to make a living.
Yes, that's absolutely true.
And it doesn't make any difference if in that regard, if it's a man or a woman. You've got to be thinking about what are you going to do, how are you going to make a living, a lot of other things. So I really believe that, people have asked me if I believe in love at first sight. So yeah, I do. But do I think that's the best way to do things? No. but generally things develop over time, and I think those things that develop over time have a tendency to be more, I'll use the word stable, than in anything else. And I don't mean, so, if you're married and you're young, that's, I don't have an issue with that. I got married when I was 18 years old, but the thing is that not feeling like you have to do something to fit in with society or fit in with other people, not feeling like that.
Right.
Or at least if you feel that way, resist that temptation, that feeling, because I'm a big believer, especially in young people, that you need to get to where it's okay to be you.
Absolutely.
And when you're okay to be you, in my growing up, it was, people left to go find themselves. Some guys never came back, but now it seems like there's a clearer direction at a younger age than there was.
Absolutely. And I like what Carla actually said. She said there are a lot of expectations in a relationship. And I think that's interesting because there absolutely are, and I think there should be for when you are ready for that relationship, because there needs to be accountability, and there needs to be obviously a sense of trust and communication between the two of you. But as we're talking about just that journey, it's okay to take your time until you feel like you're ready to meet those expectations and to commit, And so I'm really glad that you said that, Carla, because I think that brings up a very good point. And I think that it's important to keep in mind that the Lord has a perfect plan for every single person's life. And everybody's life is different, and that plan may be different for everybody. And it's not getting caught up in what those around you, what their lives may look like, because you may not know what it looks like when you're not there.
And if you make a relationship the focus of your life, finding a relationship the focus of your life, you're going to get off track. You're going to let things go undone.
Absolutely.
In pursuit of a relationship, and then have too high an expectation. And that's one thing that I think a lot of times in marriages today is people have too high of expectations of one another, and it winds up causing some issues. But when you're young and you're not married and you've got other stuff, I mean, you're going to college, you're following a career path, and that's not an easy thing to do. And a lot of times people say, well, if I had somebody in my life, that would be a help to me. You really don't know about that, man. Some of these guys aren't caught up yet. So. Well,
I think, too, it's it's also important for anyone at any age. You could be any age and be feeling this way. And I just want to share, one of my very close family members, she just got engaged for the first time and is actually about to be married, and she's almost 50 years old, and she's the happiest I've ever seen her. And she's even told me this was worth the wait, and this was worth all the heartache that I went through, because he makes me so incredibly happy. And so I think that's just an awesome testament to trusting the plan that the Lord has for your life. And also, I've even had conversations with some of my friends about this topic, and as you mentioned, some people can get in a relationship just to say that they're in a relationship, and just to be able to say, oh yes, I have a boyfriend, I have a husband, I have a wife, whatever it may be. And I think that I'm personally in a place where I can say, I don't want to be in a relationship just to be in a relationship. I would like to be in a relationship when it's the right relationship.
Yeah, right.
And so I think that's just something that is important for people to consider and to remember. And
it's been my experience that even in other areas of life, when you try so hard to make something happen, it usually consumes more energy than it gives back.
Right.
And I think the thing that we started talking about at the very first is important for people to understand. First, it's okay to be single, and you don't have to rush to romance. But you can.
That was one of the names we were considering.
Yeah, rush to romance.
Tonight.
And then we can also say that I think it's important for young people, or whatever age people really, to understand it's okay to be who they are. And once you do that, once you get there, when you're okay with being who you are and okay with being single, then you'd be surprised. God can bring someone into your life in
an instant.
Yeah, and then it's a lifelong journey after that. So both paths are a real journey.
Absolutely.
If you're single and you've got to take care of everything yourself, and you've got to do, you know, it's like you said before, it can be a little scary. So.
And there are definitely, you know, there's hills and valleys with both. But I mean, I think that's just life.
It is. You're right.
And that's just part of living. And I think that having someone to help you walk through those hard times is absolutely important, and having a partner in life is very important. But, you know, I just also want to encourage people who may be in this boat that we're talking about, or feeling these feelings, that, you know, as long as you have the Lord in your life, and you have His love, and you have love around you, you know, you have support every single day.
You know, guys are also have the same thing, same way. So it's not just
Absolutely.
women that feel that way. It's men that feel that way too, especially if, you know, they've asked the same questions of, you know, is something wrong with me? You know, what do I need to do?
Right.
And so I think what distresses me most about it, especially with young people, is understanding that I know you're going to go through things that are going to be hard, and I would like to make it easier for you, but if I do that, it won't work right. Do you understand what I mean?
Absolutely.
I could tell you a lot of things. You don't do this, don't do that, and if you did that, then it would be okay, but you wouldn't grow. And those feelings that you have, those issues that you have, those help you grow if you keep it in your relationship with the Lord.
Absolutely.
And when you grow, that helps you grow in character and grow to be the person that you want to be. And when you do that, then you'll be ready to, or be open to a relationship. And that's the thing that is important, is letting God take time to lead you down the road.
Absolutely.
in your life.
Absolutely. And Carla actually commented, which I love. She said, you can still be lonely in a relationship if it's not the right person.
There are a lot of people today lonely in a relationship. Yeah, no, that's very true. But let me just say this too, and I believe you know this. We've talked. Being in a relationship doesn't solve the feelings that you have.
It's very true.
And you have to be, you know, if you're looking for, if you do find a relationship, you're still going to have those. You're going to still have those doubts. You're going to still have those. And you're still going to have to overcome those things.
Right.
So, and I know that doesn't sound right, but I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's true.
Absolutely.
You get in a relationship, but you still have those issues to deal with, because going through those things is a part of you growing as a Christian and growing as a person.
Exactly. And I mean, that even goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I think that, you know, as you said, there are so many things that we just as humans deal with within ourselves, and we often turn to other sources to try and help cope with them.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
And you know, there's so many different ones, and sometimes it is to another person, which may not be the best person to help you through those things. And that's one of the reasons that I am working so hard in this season of my life to try and, you know, repair some things that need to be repaired, and work on some things within myself. And not to say that you're not going to struggle, you know, when you enter a relationship down the road, that you may not struggle with those things, or, you know, new things may come along. But if you are able to, if it is the right person and it's the person that the Lord provided for you, you are able to work together. I feel like better work together, because you have some sort of foundation to kind of build off of with that person.
Well, people are different, and I think a lot of times men and women look for a relationship with a person who likes the same things that they like and likes to do the same things and stuff like that. And that might work for in some relationship,
Right.
but generally you'd be surprised at how different people find out they are. And I'm going to tell you this: you can be in a relationship for 10 years and then get married. It's not going to be the same. And you still have to learn
Yes.
a new way to live together about each other, and that's cool. You know, I've seen very young people make very wise decisions, and I've seen them make some not so wise decisions. But it's not. I like what you said a while ago, and I want to circle back to that. It doesn't make any difference what age you are. These feelings
Are valid
they're at every age.
Absolutely.
People, especially if you find yourself single, and it can be a scary thing, but it doesn't have to be.
Absolutely.
So you will find out what you can do. See, you're on a journey finding out what you can do,
Yes.
and you're surprising yourself.
Yes, that's very true. That's
It's
very
good.
true. Absolutely. Well, and just, you know, going off that, if there's somebody listening who's, no matter what age you are, and if you're feeling these feelings or in this boat, you know, just know that you're not alone, because I know sometimes it can be a lonely experience and it can feel lonely. And, you know, just know that there's other people feeling that way, and that the Lord knows what he's doing in your life.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he's amazing. He blows my mind every day with what he does. But I think that's honestly a perfect place to end tonight. I think we touched on everything that, you know, that I think was kind of on my heart and kind of what we talked about. And so once again, you know, we just provide any encouragement to you, you know, whether you are single, in a relationship, married, you know, we are so incredibly blessed that you joined us tonight, and we pray that this spoke to you. As always, make sure you like us here on our Facebook page. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us over on Instagram. Those are all great platforms to keep up to date with what's happening here at Shield of Faith. Next week, next Wednesday, we are going to be having an awesome discussion on worship and ministry, and we are super, super excited about that. So we pray that you can join us next week as well. Once again, thank you guys so much for joining.
And let me say something before you go. You know, if you're watching and you want to comment on something that you know you'd like us to discuss, feel free to put it there. I'm not going to promise you we're going to discuss it, but
yes, we want to hear your
your input. If what do you think? Just and remember, we call this Church Unplugged for a reason, just so we can have an honest discussion about real things in life and see how the Lord intervenes.
Absolutely. So yes, feel free to comment on this stream. You can also head over to our Instagram, leave comments on any pictures of Church Unplugged that you see over there. So we love hearing from you guys, and we want to talk about, you know, what you want to hear. So with that said, once again, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that you all have a very blessed rest of your week.
Keep the faith. Everyone.